devoted and sincere and committed to the community in Bergen. So we're very, very grateful. And I'm speaking a little bit just because I'm trying to wait for my husband. Um, one of the things that is very beautiful about your community is the backstory of your community, which is Nepal. And having gone to Nepal myself and having done some service in Nepal, I can say that that's one of the most devoted countries I have been to, and the most devoted people I have met. I think Patrick Prabhu can testify to that. He loved it so much he decided to make it his home. But yeah, it's just such a it's such a devotional place. And so there's no wonder that your community has expanded as quickly as it did because all of you are so devotional. And that's what Krishna sees, isn't it? So let's read the verse. Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Vishnu Padri Mahamaye
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Priyeta Me Mahabhage
Priyatame Mahabhage
Lokamatar Namostuke
Lokamantara
Vishnu Padni Mahamaye Mahapurusha Lakshane Priyatame Mahabhage
Priyatame
Lokamatar Namostute
Lokamantara
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Vishnu
Mahapurusha Lakshane Priyata Me Mahabhage Lokamatir Namastute. Anyone wants to chat?
Vishnu Padmi Mahamaye
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Lakshane
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Gita Mahabhage
Priyata Me Mahabhage
Mata Namaste
Lokamatar Namostute.
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Lakshane
Mahapurusha Lakshane
Etame Mahabhage
Priyata Me Mahabhage
Tamastute
Lokamatar Namostute.
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye
Vishnu Patni Mahamaye Mahapurusha Lakshane Priyata Me Mahabhage Lokamatar Namostute. Mataji's Vishnu Patni Mahamaye Mahapurusha Lakshane Priyatami Mahabhage Lokamatir Namaste Vishnu Patni Mahamaye Mahapurusha Lakshane Priyatami Mahabhage Lokamatar Namaste Vishnu Patni,
Vishnu Patni
O wife of Lord Vishnu,
Like the Lord
Mahamaye, O energy of Lord Vishnu, Mahapurusha Lakshane,
Mahapurusha
possessing the qualities and opulences of Lord Vishnu,
possessing the qualities and honors of
Priyataha,
Gita
kindly be patient, be pleased,
and unity
me, upon me.
Me.
Mahabhage, O goddess of fortune. Lokamatha,
Gotama.
O mother of the world.
Utana.
Namaha, obeisance. Astu, may there be, say, unto you. Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. After profusely offering obeisance unto Lord Vishnu, the devotee should offer respectful obeisance unto Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and pray as follows. O wife of Lord Vishnu, O internal energy of Lord Vishnu, you are as good as Lord Vishnu himself, for you have all of his qualities and opulences. O goddess of fortune, please be kind to me. O mother of the entire world, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Please repeat, after profusely offering obeisance unto Lord Vishnu, the devotee should offer respectful obeisance unto Mother Lakshmi,
The quotation of represented on
the goddess of fortune,
the highest point.
and pray as follows.
Here.
O wife of Lord Vishnu, O internal energy of Lord Vishnu, you are as good as Lord Vishnu himself,
You are a whole.
for you have all of his qualities and opulences.
You have all qualities.
O goddess of fortune,
All are
please be kind to me.
great high to me.
O mother of the entire world,
All mother.
I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. Srila Prabhupada's purport. The Lord has multifarious potencies. Parashya Shaktir Vidhaiva Shriyate. Since Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the Lord's very precious potency, she is addressed here as Mahamaya. The word Maya means Shakti, Lord Vishnu, the Supreme, cannot exhibit his power everywhere without his principal energy. It is said, Shakti Shaktimam Abheda, the power and the powerful are identical. Therefore, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the constant companion of Lord Vishnu. They remain together constantly. One cannot keep Lakshmi in one's home without Lord Vishnu. To think that one can do so is very dangerous. To keep Lakshmi or the riches of the Lord without the service of the Lord is always dangerous. For then Lakshmi becomes the illusory energy with Lord Vishnu. However, Lakshmi is the spiritual energy. Om Ganativiradasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chakshura Yena Tasmai Shri Rupe Shri Chaitanya Manavisham Sapitam Yena Bhutve Swayambhuvadavaya Kadati Soma Kadatika Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Thakurakama Shri Guru Vaishnava Shri Rupa Sarvajatvam Sahagranam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Saratam Parijanyasya Krishna Chaitanya Dev Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagranam Shri Shisham Hey Krishna Karunasini Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Bantu Radha Krishna Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavanish Rishabhanu Sutade Pranamami Hari Priye Panchapalpa Chagudesha Viva Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Om Vishnudaya Krishna Prasad Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Janavni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Acharya Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Vashatyadeshatari Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Tinamane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shitaktane Shri Gaura Karna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Itinamane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasti Shri Gaura Bhakti Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, my dear friends, again, thank you everyone for being here. So, yeah, this is a beautiful pastime of transformation. We all know the story of Diti and her amazing vow. She killed Indra, and that amazing pastime of her and her husband, and Kashyapa Muni. And we know that Kashyapa Muni benedicted Diti with her request. And we know that Diti, her desire, started out being a desire of revenge. However, we can understand from this beautiful pastime how revenge can be transformed and how that same mood of desperately wanting to hurt another person, whether it's to kill them, as Indra wanted to do, as Indra did, or whether it's to have just some emotional disgust or some emotional, um, just perhaps just uh, disturbance with another person, whatever it may be, it can be transformed. And so this beautiful pastime helps us to understand this kind of transformation. However, what we understand about transformation is it's not possible if we are not having some foundational understanding of who we are, first of all, who we are as spiritual beings. If we don't have that understanding, it's kind of a little bit difficult to move into that realm of transformation. Generally, if we don't have some conception that we're spiritual beings, we're not this body, then we tend to stay on the bodily platform of life. And we tend to see everything that happens in our lives through those lenses of I am this body, and everything that I see is for me to dominate, control, or for me to somehow or other direct. And so when we have this mood of thinking that we can direct things in our lives without understanding the spiritual aspect of who we are, then generally we have some difficulties, generally. So this is kind of like Bhakti 101, right? We know Bhakti 101 is chanting the holy names of the Lord. And of course, reading Srila Prabhupada's books. However, within that, within the sandwich we talked about yesterday, within that sandwich of chanting the holy names and reading Srila Prabhupada's books, there are unfoldments and evolving that needs to go on in our consciousness. And so for those persons that are still absorbed in materialistic consciousness, it's very difficult to understand this mood of transformation because it does require some spiritual understanding. So once we are blessed by the mercy of the spiritual master, spiritual teachers, the spiritual association, then we start beginning to understand more about our spiritual nature and who we are. And so in this pastime, we learn there are many little lessons like that. We see that DT is transformed from this mood of thinking in a very materialistic way to becoming more self-realized, more understanding of who she is. And just by having this situation happen, which seems like a really amazing situation when you read about what Indra did in her womb, it pales all the different things we're facing in the world today. It's like, oh wow, look, listen to this pastime, listen to this story, listen to the details of what happened. It seems like the things that we're maybe experiencing today might might not be so big. Um, in any case, we see that she, DT, because she started getting the spiritual realization more and more, she was able to transcend some of the different situations that were going on with Lord Indra and her, because it was definitely a relationship that was not a healthy relationship. However, we saw that we can see that it actually ended up to be a beneficial relationship for everyone. And why is that? So obviously, because of this, we can understand from this pastime, we're at the end of the pastime now, and Srila Prabhupada has brought in those personalities that are most important, especially for the Vaishnava, for the devotees, the personalities of the Supreme Lord. Without the Supreme Lord, we really cannot understand anything. We barely can understand anything about ourselves, materially speaking, what to speak of ourselves, spiritually speaking, right? uh, uh, Didi had the best husband, Kashyapa Muni, and yet she had those desires and that mood of, as we said, of revenge. So that we see that these different conditionings can be there, even we can learn them from our scriptures. So Diti definitely wanted to get back at Indra. However, this verse is speaking about Lord Vishnu and and uh, and of course his consort Sri Lakshmi Devi. And oftentimes Prabhupada explains that Lakshmi is not often understood because Lakshmi Devi is actually, as the verse is explaining, non-different from Vishnu. At the same time, she's the caregiver of material energy. So she is a part of the material energy because she's in the material energy. She's considered, according to Srila Prabhupada, a jiva in some ways, but at the same time, she's not a jiva because she's the eternal energy of the Lord. So to even begin to understand this is somewhat a little inconceivable. It's somewhat inconceivable unless, of course, we have engaged ourselves in the process of bhakti because this is very confidential information about the Supreme Lord and the Supreme Lord's consort. So it's not that it's so easy. We can read it and we can intellectualize on the personality of Godhead, in this case, Lord Vishnu. However, to really realize who Lakshmi Devi is in relationship to Lord Vishnu is not so easy. So recently, there was a group here just before your group. They were all from Russia, and a couple of the devotees, the Russian devotees, they're very good close friends of myself and my husband, and they came over to visit us where we live at the home of Srila Bhakti Maharaj, and she was really excited about this temple that is in New Jersey. And I believe it's a Lakshmi Narayan temple. And she was showing me pictures. And the temple was just amazing. It was so beautiful. It's a temple. I don't know where exactly in New Jersey. Probably most of you know it. But for me, it looked like a temple that was transported right out of South India into someplace in New Jersey. It's a huge temple. It's beautiful. I'm sorry. I don't know because I have not been to the temple, but just to see how beautiful the carvings and everything. It's just really, just very beautiful. Anyway, these devotees, her husband is from Nepal actually. She's from Russia. Her husband's from Nepal. Now that I remember, Roshan and Anna. And so, she was just overwhelmed by this temple. And so, what is so prominent about this temple is it's very opulent, extremely opulent. And so, when we think of Lakshmi Devi, we understand that Krishna has six opulences, and one of those opulence, Lakshmi Devi herself, she's embodiment of this this opulence of wealth. And so in the material world, in the world in general, everyone is attracted to wealth. Every one of us, somewhere or another, right? There's some desire for some kind of wealth, whether it's wealth to build a temple and offer it to Krishna, or whether it can be devotional in our consciousness, but still it's that we have an attraction to whatever the wealth may be. And so in many cases, people understand Lakshmi Devi as a provider of wealth. People know that if we worship her, that we're going to, perhaps receive some wealth um, in some ways. And that wealth doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. That wealth coming from Lakshmi Devi can actually be very devotional. And so sometimes people worship Lakshmi Devi in the mood of either devotion or in the mood of material opulence. And so in this text, this is a very philosophical text in the sense that it's explaining about Lord Vishnu. Prabhupada, in the purport, he references that the Lord has multifarious potencies, and that Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, is this very precious potency of the Lord. So when we think of all the potencies of the Lord, this is why we can understand that he's inconceivable. And recently, we're having a discussion. Um, one devotee was giving a Chaitanya Charitamrita class, and he was asking. He said, "So, what is it about Krishna that is makes him inconceivable? What makes him inconceivable?" And of course, we know there are many things that we can point to that we can intellectually understand. Yeah, Krishna is inconceivable because he has so many different potencies. Just to try to understand his potencies intellectually can be very overwhelming, mind-boggling. And so here, one of those precious potencies that Srila Prabhupada is sharing with us is Lakshmi Devi. And so it's important if we my revered spiritual master, His Holiness Bhaktitirtha Swami, he writes this meditation on in one of his books. That's a book of begging. It's prayer. They're prayers, and he's begging the Lord, Radha Shama Shundar, those were his worshipful deities. And so he's begging Radha Sham, please teach me how to love you. Please teach me how to love you. And so when we hear these personalities when we hear about Lord Vishnu and hear about his potency, we it's important to understand, well, what is the goal of us understanding Lakshmi Narayan? What is the goal of that? We can dive deeper into understanding the six opulences of the Lord. We can dive deeper into understanding what is Lakshmi's potency and how does Lakshmi's potency affect our lives. However, what's most important in understanding these amazing personalities, such as Lakshmi Devi and of course the Supreme Lord, is to beg, is to really beg the Lord, how do I love you? How can I love you? Because ultimately that is what we're doing, is wanting everything that we're doing is to be able to love Krishna, is to be able to love the Supreme Lord. So as I read this, of course, I had prepared for 7, 8, and 9, because those are the verses that I was given. But just to understand in our hearts, not just in our minds, who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. So back to that theme of being inconceivable and back to that theme of transformation. So when we think of Krishna and we think of the Supreme Lord, Srimati Radharani and Krishna, so we know they're in Goloka Vrindavan. We know that they're supreme. We know that Srila Prabhupada gave us the benediction through his mercy to even begin to understand a drop about the Supreme Lord and Srimati Radharani in Goloka Vrindavan. That's not so ordinary. That's Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy on us, on all of us, to begin to enter into that very confidential understanding of who Radharani is in relationship to Krishna and who Krishna is in relationship to Radharani. So we like Prabhupada's mercy, we have that. Goloka Vrindavan, we have some understanding of that. And now Prabhupada is breaking that down to us. So we know Prabhupada has taught us that Krishna, he never leaves the spiritual world himself. In Radharani, they never leave. However, Krishna, in his magnanimous nature, he himself makes himself available in different potencies. Um, and so Krishna, Srimad Radha, we understand that Lord Vishnu and Krishna are non-different in many ways, except that there's I believe three things that Krishna does that Vishnu doesn't do. Anyone want to share what those three things are? Yes, Prabhu.
And the child of pastures.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So there's a difference in in how Krishna expands. So Krishna expands, and Krishna expands in different ways. And one of his first expansion is Lord Vishnu. And as you nicely shared, Prabhu, there is some basic difference. And so what does that difference mean to us ultimately in our day-to-day life, in our day-to-day activities? The basic difference, basic understanding for us is that Srila Prabhupada gave us this Madhurya Ras. He taught us that this mood of entering into this divine consciousness of with the process of bhakti, with the nine processes of bhakti, can ultimately give us love of God. Ultimately, um, if we follow the process. At the same time, Prabhupada also taught us that we need to understand that it's important to move through the process of anartha nivritti. So when we learn that we have all these different anarthas and we come from this conditioned self, we are part, this conditioned self is a part of who we are as we're evolving, then it's important to know that the Lord is here within the heart. So the deity that we worship every day is there within our hearts. And this is Lakshmi Narayan within our hearts. They're living right here. So we understand there's different expansions of Lord Vishnu. There's what Karnadaksha Vishnu, Kishirdaksha Vishnu, and Shirdaksha Vishnu, Karnadaksha Vishnu, Garbhadaksha Vishnu, universal, and then Kishirdaksha Vishnu. So in these purports, Prabhupada is referencing Kishirdaksha Vishnu, living within the heart with Lakshmi Devi. Oftentimes when we think of the Lord in the heart, at least for myself, I can say, I don't always think of Lakshmi. Not always. You know, I just, oh, Krishna is within your heart. Don't forget, Krishna is there with you. Don't forget to remember Krishna in your heart. Krishna, as Prabhupada is sharing with us this purport, why it's important, this purport, because he's reminding us we can't separate Krishna, Vishnu from Lakshmi. That's not possible to do that. If we do that, he's explaining it's very dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because Lakshmi Devi is as important as Lord Vishnu. And why is she as important? Because the role that Lakshmi Devi plays is that just as Krishna and Radharani in Goloka Vrindavan, they cannot be separated. In the same way, the Lord, whenever he expands with his consort. And so therefore, we can't separate Vishnu, we can't separate Krishna from from that part of himself that is available for all of us within this material realm. And so Lakshmi Devi here, he explains, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the constant companion of the Lord, and they constantly remain together. So he goes on to explain, Prabhupada, that one cannot keep Lakshmi in one's home towards Vishnu. So my husband and I, we were preaching in Zambia, West Africa. No, that's Central Africa, in Zambia. And most of the devotees that would help us there were Gujarati, from Gujarati families. And I remember going into, we were invited for lunch at one of the homes of the Gujarati family. And the mother, the elder, the, the, the couple's mother invited us into the temple room. And in the temple room was all of the demigods and all of all of the all of Krishna's expansions in different ways. And of course, there's Radha and Krishna. And I remember asking the grandmother, um, is there a reason why you have all of the different demigods and, different deities? Lakshminarayan was there. And she said, oh, we don't want to offend anyone. So that's the reason we know that Krishna and Radharani are God. We know Krishna is God. We know about Radharani, but we just don't want to offend anyone. So this is the reason why we keep these personalities on the altar, which makes perfect sense, right? Because when we're in that stage of anartha nivriti, offenses are very important. We want to be very conscious not to make offenses because we're in that clearing state, right? We're trying to now, our consciousness is awakened. And now we just realize, we understand, okay, I need to move through these different layers of conditioning. And we can only do that, as I said earlier, with the help of the devotees, and of course the help of the spiritual masters, the spiritual teacher. Prabhupada explains that in the verse, Tadri Paripatena Paripashena Sevaya, Upadesha Tateyanam Gyananastatvadarshana, that only by being submissive and only by understanding the spiritual master and offering service that we can understand anything about devotional life. So without the spiritual master, it's not so possible to understand any of these personalities. So being afraid and being respectful to everyone is most important. And so this point about Lakshmi and Narayan is really important because I remember when I was as a newer devotee, I'm still new. I became a devotee in 1979. And at that time in 1979, under anything about Lakshmi Narayan was totally out of the, it was considered just, I'm trying to think of a word, but it was kind of like how devotees used to understand Lord Shiva. Oh, Shiva's like, he's a demigod. So as time has evolved, of course, devotees have become more mature and we have started, I can speak for myself. I started to really study Srila Prabhupada's books more and try to understand why is it that we have these sectarian moods? We say we're non-sectarian, we're not sectarian, but yet we have these sectarian moods. And one of the sectarian moods was about Lakshmi Narayan. And so to properly understand Lakshmi Narayan for all of us in our lives today is to understand that the Lord is living within our own hearts, right here with us. And so even if we tend to have some guilt that, oh, but Lakshmi Narayan is not Radha Krishna, right? They're different somehow. And so sometimes people minimize who they are and their potency. Now, of course, for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and Srila Prabhupada has emphasized for us the worship of Radha and Krishna. However, Srila Prabhupada himself, I read a story last night, how he had Lakshmi Narayan on one of his altars in some place where he was living. And actually, in that story, the devotee was sharing how there was another devotee, he's a Prabhupada disciple. He was he put Prabhupada's picture on an altar with Lakshmi Narayan, and he was told that he couldn't do that, that he shouldn't put the Prabhupada's picture on this altar with Lakshmi Narayan. So he took the picture off, and as a result of that, he ended up not offering prasad to Prabhupada, not offering bhoga to Prabhupada, because he thought, oh, this is not possible. I should not do this. So in those early years of Krishna consciousness, there was a lot of misunderstanding about the potency and who Lakshminarayan is in our lives. And so we're not advocating that Vaishnavas worship Lakshminarayan, but it is important, it's very important to understand that Lord Vishnu is Krishna and that Krishna is never without his consort, and to understand the potency of Lakshminarayan in our lives. Because when we pray to the Lord, and Prabhupada explains this even when we worship when we worship the Lord, when we worship Radha and Krishna on the altar, Prabhupada explains that we're actually worshiping in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. That it's that we're not really qualified. I'm not qualified to really worship Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada explains that in one of his conversations. He says it's actually because we're worshiping in this mood of awe and reverence. And because the I never can pronounce this word. Pancha, yes, Pancha, I always have difficulty with that word. But anyway, that's the system that we use for worshiping the Lord. And that system is a system of uh, worshiping Lakshmi Narayan. And so therefore, it's really important in this mood of DT to understand transformation, because transformation is happening for deity on this level with Indra, but transformation is always happening for devotees as we are evolving in our consciousness of understanding the Supreme Lord. And so this transformation of understanding the role and the mood of Vishnu and Lakshmi is very important for many devotees, because many devotees can be at times sectarian and can be at times um, just myopic, which means small in thinking, without being critical of devotees, and to just understand that we're always evolving and we're always growing. And therefore, knowing the position of Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi, and understanding the potency of Lakshmi and the roles that she plays is important for us evolving and transforming from thinking, well, I only worship Radha and Krishna, and I don't have any appreciation or understanding of any of these other personalities that are all expansions of Krishna. Even we are expansions of Krishna, which is the reason why we honor each other, which is the reason why we give pranams, because we're understanding that we're worshiping the Lord that's within your heart, in your heart, in your heart, in your heart. And so that kind of understanding, which requires humility, which Lord Chaitanya has given us as foundational necklace to wear, is what can help us as Vaishnavas to really expand Srila Prabhupada's mission, to really, truly be those devotees that are seeing each person in not just a person, but each entity as parts and parcels of the Lord. And this comes from just, just becoming aware of of how Krishna expands, how Krishna's potencies are there, and how the Lord within our heart cannot be minimized in any way. Okay, my dear devotees, I thank you very much. As I said, this verse, um, anyway, I kind of, anyway, it's so wonderful to just talk about transformation. This is our path, right? Yes, Prabhu.
So, one question.
Yes, Prabhu.
About our kindness. You asked about this quality. So, Krishna as unavailable, And because many of the younger, the girls, उनको मालूम है कि कृष्ण ऐसे मतलब भी मैंने माना कृष्ण is only and the Leela Madhavan Krishna is always in his devotee, and then we Bala Leela Krishna only helps. I mean, he is the only one who has the silent fasting. Those are the word that you ask. Krishna has those word, what's the word? Krishna Nagari. So my question is the last part of the purpose. In these pillars, something more. Like they having her Lakshmi, you know, or Vishnu is something like that you mentioned in the purpose of the last sentence purpose.
Okay.
Please send somewhat more. Some line on that part.
The last part, the last sentence here, to keep Lakshmi or the riches of the Lord without the service of the Lord is always dangerous.
And I think and then for them, the thing becomes the
Yes,
please.
yes, yes. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, so Lakshmi is spiritual and she's material. It's both, right? We shared that. And so all of us, myself, I definitely can't say that I'm free from um, wanting, although I don't know, after many years, it's kind of, we understand uh, that anything that if we have material consciousness, if Lakshmi is there for us materially, it is temporary. It is so temporary because we've all experienced at different times in our lives. I don't know many, I have, where we've been in very wealthy situations and it's changed. It doesn't stay the same because that's the nature of the illusory energy. So if we worship Lakshmi just for riches, just for wealth, material wealth, so to speak, it's not going to stay. It's just not going to stay because it's temporary. It's a part of the material world. It's a part of the illusory energy. And so we can actually be practicing sadhakas and have that mood of worship. Sometimes we see, and especially like in our temples, we see devotees might be very opulent, and or the environment might be very opulent. Like that, I was sharing about that temple is very opulent in New Jersey, extremely opulent. And so, if the consciousness of those persons that are engage as caregivers of those different projects, if their consciousness is not understanding that everything belongs to Krishna, ultimately everything belongs to Lakshmi and Krishna, and that those things are only in our possessions to be used for Krishna. If we don't have that consciousness, then certainly Lakshmi will be with us. Lakshmi may come, but she comes in that, as Prabhupada is saying, in that illusory way where it's here now and then it's gone, right? Chanchala, here now and it's gone. And I believe any businessman here knows that. Anyone has been engaged in business, you all have learned that. And I studied marketing when I was in university, so I totally understand how there's a consciousness that we must develop in order to get the Lakshmi, right? Right? We're trained to know how to market so that we can get the Lakshmi, materially speaking. Spiritually speaking, in order to attract Lakshmi, we must be connected to Lord Vishnu, we must be connected to Krishna, and we must be sincere in offering service to the Lord. If we're not sincere, if we're not praying to be sincere, dear Lord, yes, I do have this desire for material wealth. I have this desire for opulences, but my dear Lord, I have learned from Srila Prabhupada that this is going to be temporary in my life. Please help me. Please, my Lord, help me to develop the proper spiritual consciousness. And I believe this is a prayer that's especially for business people that needs to be somewhere. Please, dear Lord, help me to transform. Again, that word transformation. Transform that consciousness because I'm not saying it's bad because we need to have you know, Prabhupada says when he was asked why he well, maybe Bhaktisiddhanta, while he was driving in the car that he was driving. And Bhaktisiddhanta explained that, well, this is for Krishna. It's not for me. Bhaktisiddhanta is explaining like that. But yet to most people, it appeared like opulence at that time, the car that he was driving. And also Srila Prabhupada and all of these wonderful temples, he's sharing. Okay, we need to have these things. When Jamuna built the temple in Jamuna and her husband in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was, I think, Patri, you know these aspects of how Prabhupada was with making sure everything was very opulent and to the best. So it's not like we don't want this, but we need to have the proper consciousness to have these things, right? And that's a fine line when we're working through anartha nivritti. If we are on the Raganuga platform, then yeah, okay. We might be praying to Lakshmi in the proper consciousness. However, if we're working through our different anarthas, then thank you. That's a beautiful question because that's something we need to question ourselves on every day, especially if we're engaged with Lakshmi. Thank you, Prabhu. Haribo. Yes,
We have time to.
I think we have a couple of minutes. Yes.
So I normally listen to Prabhupada lecture, and then in lecture Prabhupada mentioned that one should not Lakshmi. It is Lakshmi in the service of God Shri Krishna. So, and even Radhanath Maharaj says, always whatever you have, do all your will in Krishna's service.
Yes.
So that is where the Lakshmi belongs.
Yes.
And he quoted with the example that Lord Hanuman got Sita Maharani because Ravan has taken away and brought it back to God now.
Yes.
So that is how. So if we do that way, the Lakshmi never leaves your place because you're bringing the Lakshmi in the service of the Lord Narayan.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes people tell me when I do this, have you gone crazy? Don't you use your intelligence? Why you are using Lakshmi so much in Krishna service? So I tell them, if my intelligence says do some Lakshmi in Krishna service also. Now what will happen if your wealth goes away? So I tell them, Prabhupada said, if you use the Lakshmi in Krishna service, you will never be empty.
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes, it is. It is definitely true. However, one caveat to that is we always want to use Lakshmi in Krishna's service. Absolutely. At the same time, and I have my Lord Hanuman with me, so I'm begging Hanuman to answer this question. At the same time, when you are in family life, as you are, it's also important to not say to the wife, and I'm sure you don't do this. I'm saying this to all the other different people that might listen to this, to me sharing this. Don't say to the wife, oh, our family can be very austere because I need to offer everything to the Supreme Lord, right? Because that might not help in a marriage. Just because family life means taking care of the family. Krishna gives you the wealth he gives you in order to use in the Lord's service, yes. However, the family Krishna gives us is also a part of Krishna's gift for us to take care of. And so it's important as a family man and woman, if the woman is the one working and making the money these days, that happens. It's important that we don't think, oh, I just have to give everything to the temple and my son and my daughter is like, but I need this, dad, but I need this, my mom, whatever, because Krishna gives that so you can also take care of your family, because the family is an offering to the Lord. So yes, absolutely, everything is to be offered to Krishna. At the same time, we want to understand that we're living in the world, and we also need to be aware of all those gifts that Prabhupada has given to us, and to take care of all those gifts also. That includes the family. Okay, my dear Lord Hanuman, Thank you very much. Yes, bro. Patrick.
Okay, you just look from the and continue on. Somebody else, oh, but we have more intelligence. For again, Robert, you understand what is intelligence? What don't concern. If you have money, that's intelligence. If you don't have money, you have maybe money to use stuff, but to get money, you need intelligence.
Yes.
So we should not be always in divisions. And we not watching Lakshmi and Lakshmi achieving something. Oh, sectarian. But at the same time, you want Lakshmi. This contradiction.
Very big
Lakshmi helps you with intelligence. How Lakshmi forget it now. And at the same time, have Lakshmi. So otherwise, Sarva Shunyam Davitam. So it's like I say, it's everything. You try to come, you have no sun, there's no rain, like everything is empty, but there is no Lakshmi. You know, we might Lakshmi by something which you really practical, very balanced, not just the extreme. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick, for me. Thank you.
But as you can see here, the transformation of hatred that DT had. Because I think it's one of the fortunes he has because of husband with the devotee Kashapuni. Because somehow I know she inside in her, like I want to destroy Indra, right? So then in that mood, she was worshiping Lord to have a son.
Yes.
But even Dhruv Maharaj was worshipping Lord Vishnu, he had this desire. So the transformation of desire is unfortunately we don't have sometimes we don't have that kind of really good shelter where we can really guide us. And when we have, we really don't accept it. Maybe we are not full enough, like because we put our own policies and idea and agenda on it. How can we really surrender to like we have this we are in really wonderful family, Srila Prabhupada, and we have so many wonderful devotees. But how can we really take that guidance very seriously? Take every day to like really cultivate that mood.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's also another beautiful question. That's a practical question because it's not that we won't have challenges or difficulties, or there are times when we may not have shelter, or we think we don't have shelter. We always have shelter because Krishna is right here, right, with us. So there is always shelter. However, like you said, we may think we don't have shelter. So how do we keep this mood um, of community, of understanding that, yes, we won't always agree. And yes, we are individuals and we will have different perspectives on maybe even how to preach, how to teach. We might have different perspectives. However, what is it that binds us together as a family? At the end of the day, that's Srila Prabhupada. That's ultimately it's Krishna. However, it's Srila Prabhupada and what Srila Prabhupada has given to us. So what did Srila Prabhupada give to us? He gave us the chanting of the holy names, and he gave us the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So and all of the other books Prabhupada has given to us. So when we have challenges, when we have difficulty, we need to find our safe space. We need to find that safe place where we can go and again be re-energized in order to interact with the bigger community. So what is the safe space for each person? For me, my safe space is the words in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's where I go to when it becomes a little overwhelming, because it sometimes will become overwhelming when we live in community. It's very natural. I think the thing that devotees, not just devotees, but people in general, we fear when we are in situations that's not harmonious. We fear that because the soul, right? The soul is in harmony all the time. And so we want that harmony all the time. But the fact is we are living in a material world. And material world does mean conflicts. It means this, it means challenges with each other. It means having to mature and grow up. It means all those things, right? It means people having different perspectives. It means that we all are always going to agree. It means all these things that can make us disconnected, right? That's what you're sharing. However, we got to find that place where we can go to once again connect, because we're not on an island alone, right? We're always going to have to come back and connect somehow or other. And so we got to find that sweet spot that can bring us back to connect. So for some, it's chanting, right? They love to chant. I know the temple president in Potomac, Maryland. She loves to chant Hare Krishna. She loves to chant, just chant, chanting. It's like yesterday I was speaking to a devotee. There was a program and I was at that program and she was saying, I just want to do what brings me joy. So she had a choice, either going on Harinam or doing something else, right? And she was shared with me, yeah, it's what brings me joy. And this morning, as when I got invited by all of you to come to the class, you know, I was thinking about that and I was realizing what brings me joy. So brings me joy is serving the devotees. What brings me joy is being able to share my meager, small realizations from Srimad Bhagavatam. What brings me joy is sitting for whatever it might be, a few minutes or maybe hours, just relishing Bhagavatam, because in Bhagavatam you can find the answers to every situation, every confusion, every challenge. It's there in Bhagavatam. Now, the choice I make when I act on what I've read, that's up to me. That's up to me. And so sometimes I don't always make the best choices. That's just a part of growing up. That's a part of maturing. And so sometimes I look at some of the choices I made and I think, wow, was that me? Oh my God, Krishna, please. At the same time, though, we relish those times because those are the times that help us to go deeper. Those are the times. So when we are experiencing periods where there's disharmony or confusion or challenges, those are the best times in our lives. The best, absolute best. Because when we come through those periods, Haribo, Hare Krishna, when we come through those periods, then we become better persons. We become deeper persons. We become more loving, more caring, more understanding because we've been through it. We've been through whatever it is that may have caused us some pain. And so pain and Krishna consciousness goes beautifully well together. Beautifully well together. It's kind of like it sounds kind of what is that word? That it doesn't sound like it's like an oxymoron, right? It sounds like that doesn't make sense, but it really does. And any one of you here that have experienced some pain and have moved through that pain, you have seen yourself become a deeper person, a more caring person, a more understanding person, a more forgiving person. It may take time for some of us, but at the same time, not but, however, at the same time, if we stay in prayer, if we stay in wherever that sweet place is for you, every one of us must find that sweet place, with Krishna, because we can find a sweet place in material energy very easily. So we got to find that sweet place with Krishna. And each person is gifted to have a sweet place with Krishna. Each person, each one of us, if we sit for some time and be still with ourselves, Krishna will reveal to us in our hearts, the Lord in our hearts will reveal. Srimati Radharani, Krishna, Lakshmi Narayan will reveal to us, what is my sweet spot? And that sweet spot could change. There was a time when my sweet spot was traveling and being with devotees. Because I'm aging now and because I can't do things like I used to, that sweet spot sadly has somewhat changed. However, I know, like, okay, Krishna, you got to send me another sweet spot. because I can't travel like I used to anymore. So, and Krishna does. He loves us. You know, he loves us. He hears us. He's like, okay, you need another sweet spot. I'll find out for you. Just be open, okay? Be open to it. So, yeah. And so this was a sweet spot today. Just coming here and being with all of you and sharing and connecting with my Nepalese family. I have so much affection for my Nepalese family because they don't have to try too hard to be sincere. They're naturally sincere. So thank you very much. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada, Jai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.